Okay, my friends, Roger, Mudfossil University, using the Fair Use Act, so nothing I can say can be fought against by saying that I am infringing on someone, because I am not making any money. This is strictly for criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Those are examples that qualify. Now, what am I going to be criticizing, and why do I need the Fair Use Act? Well, I don't want anybody disputing that I have the right to say the things I say. I have the First Amendment right to say anything I want to say, and I am going to say the things I want to say, and they might be a little harsh. And let's start right here. February 28th, 2020. I've been doing mud fossil research for over 8 years and been refused, and you'll see all the documentation that proves that. And now Mary Schweitzer, who I originally started off with after I was refused from Yale, she refused, and she still does, but she's reporting on soft tissues now. I respect her because she is in the middle of this and she's been beaten up. You're going to see it. Hold on tight. Don't forget, fair use. Okay, my friends, now this isn't intended to be against anybody. I just want to get the truth out there, and I am going to explain how all of this unfolded. Now, this goes back to 2013, and this is Dr. Mary Schweitzer, the one that we just saw came up with the soft tissue discovery paper. Now, let's let this play, and then I'll explain to you.
This evidence seemed to suggest that organic matter could, in some way, survive the process of fossilization.
All right, she had found blood cells in tissue samples, and they were mammalian.
And what was so exciting about it is that the new tools and technology of molecular biology might now be used to understand these long-vanished creatures.
And that's what she did. And she paid the price.
It opened the door to the possibility that we could begin to understand the function, the physiology of dinosaurs in a different way. If we could get at the elemental molecular structure, that's where the real evolutionary information is housed. And so being able to recover those things from dinosaur would open the door to understanding them at a completely different level.
All right. What happened, though, is she got attacked. And let's go a little further. Okay, jump 5 years forward. Here is she in the Science. I don't care what they say about me. Paleontologist stares down critics in her hunt for dinosaur proteins. She got slammed and destroyed. Now, I tried to work with her and contact her. Here's what I did. All right, this is the paper by Mary Schweitzer and the other lady, and this is from February 28th, 2020. Now, just last month, back on January 25th, 2020, I sent her this. To Mary Schweitzer. I said, greetings and much respect for your breakthrough work, because I know she's been working on this stuff. And I said, I know you paid the cost of truth as I have, and I can only hope it has not driven you from it, meaning the truth. My specimen is spectacular, DNA certified as human DNA, also CAT scan and atom is verified like these lungs, and I send her all the information. And you do biology, chemistry, etc. as I do. I have worked out the details of this preservation and done it in about 1 year. I've made my own from mud fossils, preliminary mud fossils, and then they have to, once they dry out solid, they're solid. Now, and this goes back. I contacted her when she first originally had her discovery. I said, I contacted you when you first announced your soft tissue discovery. I'm trying again to get truth out. Will you engage? I will not use your name if you prefer, but I need your help. You were the only one I have found professional that spoke the truth. That I respect you for that. Thank you, Roger. If you want me to go away, simply acknowledge receipt and state that, but I have extremely interesting research in your area of study. Your peers are destroying truth, I am afraid. Well, she didn't respond. It's been over a month, so I'm using her name, and I'm going to put the details out there. She's been intimidated terribly. And I understand that because I don't care. I don't have a horse in this race. All I want is truth. And that is being denied, and she's being destroyed. She, you know, I got to tell you the truth what happened. She was afraid to talk to me in the beginning, and I ended up, you know, I tried going back and forth, and she never responded. So I actually called one of, because I actually tried calling her, all those kind of things. I actually called the guy right down the hall from her, and I said, I got something really important to get a hold of Mary, and never get a hold of me. She was not happy about that. But it's just, you know, I'm a pretty pushy guy. But I'm going to tell you what, if I wasn't pushy, she would be destroyed, and she would probably never come out of the closet from this. If I was in the business like she is, I would be living under a bridge right now, digging through dumpsters to survive. That's what her peers would do to me. And they would do it to her. She's just stood up, and I respect her for that. So anyway, I sent her this stuff. Whoops. I sent her this stuff down here, which was lungs. There's two lungs right here. Right. That was DNA certified. This one gushed blood all over. I mean blood. This is the fascia coating of the lungs, which is extremely biological. And I mean, it's obvious. And this was just shows how much blood did pour from the pores in that lung. And I have the lung right here, and it still will issue a little bit of redness, but it literally bled on the counter. I had a guy today told me, he sent me something, he says, this is insane. He says, I got enough blood coming out of these rocks, I could do a transfusion. I'm not kidding you. Somebody sent me that today. I swear that's the truth. Okay, I am going to be talking a little bit harshly about Derek Briggs, and the reason is because he is in Yale University. He's a big shot down there, and I approached him with my mud fossil discovery, and he would refuse to look at it. And I said, what would it take to look at it? He said, oh, you'd have to have CAT scan, you'd have to have a DNA and all these things. And I said, okay, I will do that. I did it, and then he still refused to look at it, and he still refuses to look at it today. So I am hostile with every reason to be. Here's what he says his bio is. My primary research interest in the preservation evolutionary significance of exceptionally preserved fossil biotas. This involves a range of approaches from experimental work on the factors controlling decay and fossilization through studies of early diagenetic mineralization, organic preservation, to field work on a range of extraordinary fossil occurrences and their taxonomic description and analysis. I have invited him here to my property 15 minutes from where he is. He refuses to even interact anymore. So I was pretty severe, and you're going to see that. By the way, after I did all the things that he said to do, he refused, and the people that he sent me to, the University of Texas in Austin, did the CAT scans. They were nasty, and by the time it was done, police called me and a lawyer saying to stay away from him. So this is what I'm up against. That's why I'm kind of a little harsh. And I have every right to be. And if anybody wants to confront back to me in a rational manner and do what they're supposed to do, I am quite rational at that point. Okay, so today's the day to name names. I started off with Derek Briggs at Yale, and as far as I'm concerned, he is clinically delusional. And I said, finally, I was fed up with it. 2016, I said, look, I'm putting up a new video, and you're shown as clinically delusional, which is factual as my DNA-proven giant show. I offer this solution to your problem, which is his problem, and he now has a serious problem for his denial of all these facts. I mean, Derek Briggs of Yale has started, he was the problem in the beginning, because if he'd had looked into this would all have been resolved, and I would have never been this heavily involved. So I said, I have no problem, as you are completely wrong, and it is now known. Discoveries are coming in every day now, daily, if you have paid attention. In 48 hours, I petitioned to remove you for incompetent, delusional obstruction of history. It will be accompanied by an email campaign to the parties at Yale and elsewhere, which I did. And they didn't respond either. He should be for incompetence. I mean, how could you possibly let this continue for all these years? The offer, you make a press announcement that my mud fossil giant discovery have been studied for 5 years and appears to be fully supported, and intense scrutiny is required. It should begin immediately. Take credit for your marine stuff and say these mud fossils are the terrestrial equivalent. Pass the announcement by me first, please. In 24 hours, the ball rolls down the hill, and I will remove the video as well. But I want to get this in the news. This was supposed to be all you, but you refused. In other words, in the beginning, it was all, I said, take it and run with it. And I said, I don't walk away, and I am not going to walk away. This you will understand fully, and you will be exposed fully, or take this deal, which he did not. I am not vindictive, but you are screwed if you ignore this. Mandela, if you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy, which I tried to do. Then he becomes your partner. I kept this email between you and I only. This is the only time I will reach out to you. This is the last final time. And I sent him all these information. All the information with all the details. And that was it. So, Professor Derek Briggs at Yale, as far as I'm concerned, you have been the obstructionist. Now, if you can dispute that, I'd like to know how. All right, here we have Harvard, just as bad as Yale. I sent it off to him. Ancient feet discovered, similar to human feet. A whole new species. They're looking for origins. Hello, I'm hoping you will look into this. These feet were found with more bones and some tools. Please acknowledge you received this, even if you have no interest. They never acknowledged anything. And we have new, this goes back to 2017. And it went on, and there was a bunch of them I did for them. I sent to them, and they never responded at all. And neither did Max Planck. However, guess what Max Planck and Harvard and all of them decided? They decided, wow, we can find DNA in mud after I sent it to them. I had sent them to Harvard and to Max Planck. And then about, a year or so later, I see we can find mud with DNA. All they are finding out is whatever they're pretty much going inside of these caves. Look, here's the video. And I think this is a new video. I never saw this one before they had on this, but maybe they put it up originally, I just missed it. But here's what they say. Finding DNA now.
Or anywhere else for that matter this year. Monty the woolly mammoth.
The woolly mammoth, I got a story about that too. I think it was a woolly mammoth from, I took a course at Johns Hopkins, genomics course, with, what was his name? Stephen Salzberg, Professor Stephen Salzberg, absolutely refused to see anything that I presented, and was talking to me about all of his woolly mammoths or whatever he was in. And that's another one, and that goes back a few years. And I've been trying to get into the mainstream with this information that I have, 100% valid. And he just refused to see it. Now that I see as incompetence or fraud or, I can't, where do you go with that? If they say, let me look into it, and they do, that's fine. When they refuse to even respond, that's when you know you got an issue. All right, so let's see what they have to say about their cave DNA. Here we go. Ancient DNA, they can be found in the mud of caves. So guess what? That when they find it in the mud of the cave, they think somebody that had the DNA of that mud was living there. No, the DNA of the mud is the creature that is the cave. Look, finding their DNA could reveal who they were, even if we never find actual fossils. That's It's a mud fossil. Oh man, I'm telling you.
For auction in Britain or anywhere else for that matter this year, Monty the woolly mammoth.
Yes, this. All right, now they got to go for the recover. Well, how about this? That right there is a finger from a giant human being that's been DNA certified as human. All right, that is a bone from a mud fossil, and if you can't tell that's a bone from a mud fossil, you got issues. All right, and they have been DNA certified. Let's look at that. All right, here's some more I sent back in 2015 to the, this went to the Origins of Life at Harvard. Okay. Origins at cfaharvard.edu. They never responded once. I sent them everything. I sent them videos. I sent them everything. Nobody responds. So what do? How do you handle that? That's 5 years ago. Okay, I'm going to show you the test in a second, but this was what was sent off. This is a giant fingertip. That is, the fingernail is still there, and the fingerprints are still there, and I'm going to show them to you right now. That is about 30 inches wide, 36 inches long. This is the fingerprints right here. That right there is the fingerprint, and those are the actual, like the little sweat pores or whatever they are inside the grip skin. I smashed this off with a sledgehammer so that I could get this. This went right there. If I could put that back, it would go right here and wrap right around, so you don't have any fingerprints here until you hit the fingerprints down here, which is right down on the side. So this would cap right on there. Now, that's 36 inches long, just a fingertip. Now, that's one I sent. DNA certified human. This is from the other. I have a lot from this one. I have some parts of the feet, and I have the hand, a whole hand, and all that stuff. And that's this was a, I think we called this was a left thumb, and it's been all checked by an anatomist and DNA certified and CAT scanned and all that. Jesse Garant and Associates did the CAT scanning. Fabulous people, wonderful people. Jesse Garant and Associates. And they do racing car engines, big industrial equipment. They did 7 CAT scans, and I really appreciate their help. And Gil Headley did he's an anatomist. He owns an anatomy school. He teaches autopsy all around the world. Absolutely fabulous. Very interested, because what this is fascia. Anything that coats any part of your body, organs, skin, everything. I call that the fascia, the myofascia system, which it's a coating of fabric. I've gone into this deeply, and he was deeply interested in that because it was just coming as they were just starting to look into it, because they never really considered it much of a, they used to call it fuzz. And so anyway, he was quite interested, and I just discussed recently with him, because there's other things about this that we got into, but I have this all over my property. It's all over my property. This is right on my property. You know, bones. All I got to do is just take a walk with the dog. I come back with hands full of them. I'm not kidding you. Every single day if I want. So it's on the surface of. I'm not even digging for this. I did dig a bunch of them up because I had to put a few things in around the property here, and when I did, they just balls of them came out. So you can't dig out. We can't. You know, they call them around here. They call them Middlefield potatoes or Westfield potatoes. Because they pop up every winter. They come up in the frost heaves, and you go out in the spring walking a dog. You just got to get rid of them and get them out of the way. And I have all these piles of stone fences around my property. It's in New England, that's what they did. And then they cleared the fields. I have fields, and then I have the stone fences around it. And this is the stone fences. I got tons of this stuff. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons. And I can go get tons and tons and tons more today if I want. And I mean, these things are spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And for them to say, "Oh, I found a little blood droplet," it's hard for me to work with that kind of a mentality. That's thrilling. I mean, it's just, I have all the same stuff they have. I have my microscopes. It's just as good as they got. I know what I'm doing. I could study just as good as they study. I know chemistry. I know anatomy. I know biology. I know history. And I know the real true history. Mythology is the history that we missed. We now are in mythology today. All right, these are the DNA tests that were done. There was 3 tests, and I showed you the things. There was a 36-inch tip, the lung, and then the mud tip was this. And it came out of the same hole with the other fingers and the palm and all that stuff I think I showed you already. And I have some of the parts from the feet, and I have bones and everything else. It's all over. It's right out there. It's just out below the surface. And they did the whole thing with the PCR analysis, whatever they do. This was not cheap, and it took a while to do. And all 3 of them came back as human mitochondrial DNA, and well, here it is down here somewhere. Homo sapien mitochondrial cytochrome B gene and Homo sapien mitochondrial D loop region. Now, one of them was not as dense as the other ones, but 2 of them were very dense because I took them from blood. As you know, I can know where the blood is. If you take it from the arterial spot, you end up with a dense blood, just fact. And I know all about it. I know 100% about this now. And if anybody wants to discuss it with me and confront my knowledge of it, I'm certainly willing, and that is what I have been requesting. All right, thank you. Okay, so if you don't think rocks can bleed, you got a problem, because they can gush blood, and when they come out of mud specifically, you see how this is all brown and gooey looking? Well, that is what's called a bone foramen, and they have inside here, there's a vein and an artery, and sometimes a nerve runs through there as well, in these cavities. And when they come out of the wet mud, there's still blood inside the bones, inside in the marrow of the bone. It's dense. And they bleed out through the bone sockets. So there's these little foramens. And they'll be gushing out of here like crazy. This right here actually literally gushed blood. Here. It might even still, all you got to do is hydrate this stuff. And it turns red again. You see that? You see how quick that hydrates? If you looked at that in a microscope, you could see blood cells. Plus, you could see all of the different articulation of the structure of the lung. You see that? And because this is, and I'm sure this is a human lung. I didn't get this one tested. But I think it is. And this shows you the different pockets in the lung. I mean, there's so much to learn from this. And they come in different ways. This one here was in a condition where it's probably acids or salts or something. But there's the blood is still in there. And you could look at that. I mean, that's saturated with blood. I have them. It's unbelievable. And that now, here's what will happen. Underneath that has fibrin. You see, here it is. There's a scab as I'm removing it from the fibrin. This is a natural fabric that the scab collects on. All right, here's the holes. You see the 2 holes there? This is the artery, which you can see is sort of reddish looking, and that will be the vein, which is in mud fossils they're black. All right, this is 3 feet wide. Now this is a whole hand, so this is not as big as the 3-foot long fingertip, but this is also DNA certified. All the parts came from this. Fingertips, that's one fingertip. There was an area that was highly eroded, like this spot, that's another fingertip. You see that? That's what they call a distal phalanges, the distal phalanges silhouette. There's your vein, which plugs up, they don't blow out. There's your artery. Arteries blow out. They're unrestricted. Poof. If the blood runs down there, this must have been deeper than the other part. All the blood runs down, blows out through these holes. It didn't blow out through these. Nothing happened here. This was up here and this was down below. There's a lot to learn from just the way things collect. Now look at this. See this here? See the little triangles here? Over there and over here? That's the way these things hook into your fingers so you can move it. Oh, I got a ton of this stuff to look into. The meat actually preserves exactly as meat is, and that's what's called a fascia tongue. I better not go too deep into this. I got so much to go over, but what I'm getting at is there's giants that are so big, and I just want to show you how big they are, and then I guess I'm going to have to let this rest until somebody steps up for reality and truth. Okay, now this is from the alternative to mainstream science. This is Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock, and they're claiming that this is water sloshing back and forth from some gigantic flood created these patterns. Well, here's what they really are. All right, I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quick, but here, what you're seeing here, this is from Tyson's Mud Fossil Adventures. Now, I work with Tyson daily. Fabulous guy. Very skilled, very thorough. Pay attention to what he says. And he has a site that is unbelievable. Now, it's so huge that it's very, very hard for the average person to get their mind around. That is a layer of blood. That is all blood. And you see these blocks here? Those are blood blocks. It just broke off of here. And, you know, when I can say that, I can back it up because I have one right here. It's identical. That is the same thing. That is solid blood. All right? And it has fractured off just the way that fractured off. If you can see that. I think you can. Now, where did this come from? Well, right above it is the muscle. You see that? That's the muscle fabric. We're going to be looking at this in a second. Now, above that, it keeps going up. There's another layer of blood up here. The layers of blood here and there that service the tissues. And then you get to the top. And here's the top, which is grip skin. This is your outer layer of skin. Tough, tough, tough. There's other layers of skin that are on your face and so forth that do not have this. They call it old red sandstone. Very gritty, tough. And that's what you have on grip skin. And this is a very mini thing of what he's going to show here. And we're going to look at that right now. First, I just want to go over one other thing. We have new species. This is a no-toe. The toes are built right in. That's not a shoe. It looks like it. When I saw this, I thought it was a shoe, and I was going to cut it open and look to see what was inside. That's where your fibia comes down. The tibia is the big bone, and that came right in here. And that black is what they call bone black, and that's where the blood bled off, right off of here. This is where the tibia sits right here and goes up. The two bones come down, and this tibia, the fibia, is not really well supported. It falls right off, and that's the no-toes. Now they come giant, and they come inside. They don't have the same structure as our feet, and I can say that because we have a site. Tish Egerton has a site. It can blow your mind, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Because I might as well show you the whole damn thing now. This is my goose. That's his feathered pattern on the top. See, you get some kind of avian person. Find out what has a pattern of feathers like that on the top. And that's the goose. That's his neck. You see right there. Died laying like this. And they're all flat because it was a flood, gigantic flood. They died laying like that. I mean flat. Now, let me just show you Tish, and then I'm going to finish up with the gigantic giants that Tyson has. You have to see this. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay, so you know that this is a no-toe, and this looks very similar to our foot structure. And the toes are in there, but they're hidden. Now, you see on the side here, this is very hard to see, but there's like these little circles and things like this. And I can't tell what's in there either, but I do know that right there, I believe, is the same as this right here. Okay, we have new species. Tish Egerton discovered this. Now, this is just crazy. I did a video saying you go out and find mud fossils in 15 minutes. You just walk out the door, and she did. She just found in 15 minutes. I'm not kidding you. I swear. Now, wait till you see the stuff she has. Absolutely phenomenal. She's got a village, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. You see these? This is nothing like what's in our body. Absolutely nothing. These are torsion springs. And I figured out how they work. I'll show you. Now, this isn't even close to how many she has. But we've looked at them in the microscope, and I have a ton of work with her. And you see this? I think that's almost like a wing nut. I'm not kidding you, because you see this? This is the same sort of deal. Now, there was something right up in there too. There's a big pad that was supposed to be on here. It's gone, and then. There's all kind of structure in here. Where do you see this? Unbelievable. But these originally were fused over the top. They've eroded out, and you can see the toes. But originally, this was just like that. All right, her stuff is like mine. That one there, I don't know. It was like little bananas coming out of there. But I think as they erode down, the toes are in there, but they're stuck in the mud here. Well, not in the mud. They're stuck in the flesh, which I guess is mud. All right, somebody sent me this. I don't even know where it came from, to be honest with you. But this is a good description of what's going on. See the toes? They're in there, but originally that would have been completely encased like the ones I have. And they have eroded. And what they'll do is along the lines of the flexibility of them, they'll start to form cracks. And that happens because water gets in there and expands and this and that. And then eventually you get uplift here and there, and you can see the separations where tissues were laying against other tissues. And they were flexible, not necessarily laying against them, but where the flexibility is, that's where you get the movement. And then things start to break off. All right, so now, you know, that's from Tish's stuff, that's mine, but they have that complete encasing. Now, what happens? What happens in the heel and so forth? Because these are spring-loaded. Remember I showed you her whole leg with the foot on it? Well, what happens here is that is the ball of the heel right there. You see it right there? You see this strap? See the strap? You know, this foot's facing that way, it's facing this way. But these springs, these torsion springs, what happens is the toes are out of here. Now, they flex. This twists up like that. As it does, it has to pull in, it compresses, so it's under tension to come back down, and it comes up and then up. You have a double up. So you and it comes back down automatically because it's under reverse compression. It's we are different now. Our tendons and so forth totally different. Bones and the structure you can see over here, nothing like that. So how do we get to be like that, or how do we get to be like this from that? Now, these people are looking for evolution. That's what Mary Schweitzer's talking about. Oh, we want to figure out this for evolution. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Nothing that we see that is walking around and breathing and doing all of the things of life came from dust just congealing. Absolute nonsense. That's fine for them to look for that. Go for it. Because I can tell you one thing right now. My final conclusion of all the research I did, and I mean I did a lot of research, I'm going to tell you right now, the stuff coming from space is also biological, and I have some right here, and I can prove it. So, as far as I'm concerned, molecules or likely electrons, or the tiniest particles, and I believe electrons make everything there is. Protons are made out of 1,837 of them. Neutrons are made out of 1,838. That's the weight of a proton compared to an electron. And they make everything. That accounts for the new problems they're having with lepton universality. The Bohr model is gone, and they realize this. They're so lost in all of this stuff because they won't look. I contacted a particle physicist guy that runs one of the giant colliders, and he can't see light accelerating from the experiments we did. Now, if he can't see that, I have a hard time thinking he could probably understand much of what he's going to see from his collider. Yeah, I might as well leave no stone or light unturned. This is pulse red laser. There's only a particle. Einstein was wrong. There's no particle wave. It's a particle. It's in the center. It has a large volume of space it controls. As it approaches a venturi, which is nothing more than what they used to have in carburetors, it's a restriction with wings on it, and it forces that particle, which was in this wave, to accelerate. Now, a particle physicist says he can't see any acceleration from here to there. That is just, has no idea what's going on. Now, also, what do we see? We see the particle manifesting itself and being turned into plasma as it crushes through this venturi, coming out of a single venturi. So there's no overflapping interference waves like they talk about for the dual slit. It does it with every slit. Now, why is it doing it out here? Because those are all negative particles. They want to be away from each other. And what are negative particles made of? They are made out of electrons. And what are electrons made out of? They're made out of a positive and a negative particle. That's right. One of them's strong, one of them's weak. And here they are. When they come out of the venturi towards us, they create Higgs patterns, exactly what they want to see. And here are those Higgs patterns. And then we had one that reverse spun and created a new particle, which is that right there. Something they would probably be interested in, I would have thought. This is what they look like as soon as they come out of the venturi, black, white, which is a photon. Each one of them individually, side by side, is an electron. Because that's your weak charge, that's your strong charge. The black, when it hits and it concusses, the black won't do anything. It'll just drop away. The white will explode like a bomb. Let's look at that. And this is light as it slows down. It can accelerate and it can slow down. Here it is spinning to the right, which they say right-hand rule. If it's going that way, it's spinning to the right. And it is. And it's open here and contracted there. It means it's slowing down. So that's your light. Like I said, the Bohr model is destroyed. There's a couple little things that are right. There's a weak force and a strong force. The weak force and the strong force have to be joined together to become an electron, which is the building block of every single thing that there is. Nothing is made out of anything other than electrons. They form in balls like this to create nucleuses, and when they hit certain frequencies of a certain number of them, they stay, okay, we can have 12 guys surrounding that want to get in here, but they have to stay out in their orbitals. That's fine. However, when light does this, because it's electrons, we're using light, so we are using the smallest particles there are. You saw they were black and white, up and down. Now, here's the blacks. There's the little black dots. Those are just dots. Well, what is this? This is a gigantic explosion. Strong force, weak force. Strong force, weak force. Exactly what they want to see. And this particle physicist, there's nothing there. I don't see anything at all. And that's all I can say. And that's the last time I can talk to you. I thought they might think this might be an electron-neutrino shower, electron shower, because that's what I saw, a high-speed electron, which we saw it speeded up. I saw that. Of course, the particle physicists don't see that. And then it smashed into just standard space, which is sitting around here like a bunch of electrons in space, and They went flying just like that. That's what I saw. I also saw the elusive Higgs boson, only ours were made from light instead of big globs of mass. This is like hitting two gigantic trucks together and seeing if you can find an electron. It's insane. We're using electrons and then seeing how they react in these violent interactions through a venturi. And I did show that. Okay, this is it. You can laugh all you want, but that's all you can do is laugh, because you cannot accept truth if that's what happens to you. This is muscle fiber, skin, the same sort of stuff we just saw. That's not from any kind of volcanic this or that, or washing this or that. That is biology. It can be very easily proven. Now, that is so huge. You can see the trees up there. This is literally one of the upper layers of skin. You see that? If anybody can tell me that that's been volcanically issued, I have trouble with their competence level. This is 100% biology. The chemistry is biology. The fabric is biology. The everything about it is biology, and there, as you can see, it's going to show. This is more or less the basement layer of all of that stuff that we were coming down, and it gets sewed in to the biology of the upper layer, and I'll show that in a second, and then we'll leave it at that. So we have the upper layer coming down, and then the basement layer is way down below, but all of that is muscle and tissue. And that's the kind of stuff I was showing on my mud fossil. And this is the basement layer down here. So now he's going to come down and show, there's a spot over here where it shows where it interfaces. Boom, right there. So, I mean, that's not accidental, just washing this or washing that. Time to pay attention. And if you can't get your heads around paying attention to this and say, all right, let's take a look, you should be disgraced. All right, that's why, I'm covering every science, all of this stuff, everything that's been forced upon academics to say, or they will be destroyed by their peers. Well, you can't destroy me because I am not a peer. I don't want to be a peer. All right, so thank you, and please pay attention to this. I want to be friends with everybody. This is not something. There's no animosity from me. I understand your position. I understand your position. And if I was in your position, I don't know what I would do. As a matter of fact, I was in your position I started my own business. And that's what you should do, start your own university, which is what I did. I'm not making any money this. I don't care about money. I have plenty of money. I'm all set with that. But I do want truth, and I will not walk away from truth. And I would like to have somebody else involve themselves, like John Slutton down in Peru. He's in with the Amazon Indians, down in Peru. He's with the Shipibo Indian Nation, and they own their own country. And he's friends with the ambassador. The ambassador supports us 100%. He goes to the UN, and John was telling him he's coming to the UN. I think next April, I think it is. And they understand this, and they put a lot of interest in this, and a lot of he did a fabulous job. You should. John Slutton. It's down in he's, the last I saw, he had my Mudfossil University name on there, which is good. That's what I want, because he's doing it right. I'm not sure what he calls it. It's a regular business. He's got he does tours and all that stuff down there. He's created a museum, and it's like a hostel, and very nice. And I got a lot of people all over the world now. They're coming on board. I got Greg down in the southern part of the East Coast, and people in Australia, and they're all around. Like, there's too many to name, and I'm sorry if I'm not naming you, but I get stuff that I can't keep up with it, and I want it to be known. So to just say because they found a drop of blood and the whole world goes crazy, it's very upsetting to me to be able to just shove this to the side and stay away from us. That doesn't work anymore. Okay, I'm going to tell you something right now. Your mind is going to explode if you haven't seen this before, but that's just too bad for your mind. That is tendon. And guess what? They always wonder, how do they make these walls down in Peru? Well, what is this? Somebody was down there driving over something wet that hardened up over the course of time. I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a tendon. And they had some tank type of vehicle here with tires that could drive on the road and then in wet places. And this, we used it to cut slabs here. This is down in Fuerte de Sampiata of Bolivia. And this is blood spots, and I know I've seen it very carefully. I've looked at it very carefully. Now let's go a little further. It's in my video here, and here it is at the top of where the tendon is, and they're cutting the slabs. They were wet. Obviously, the thing was sinking into the tendon as they were cutting them, moving them back here to make these walls, which I will show you there. Now that's why they fit together so well. They were cut as they were moist. That is blood and bone. That's the bloody bony area right there. This is moved over here. Now, there's other ones here that are just a mess of tissue that shouldn't be there. They should be using the tendons that have the bumps sticking off them. The tendons with the bumps sticking off them are the really tough. There it is right here. These are tendons mats inside of a human being or a creature that has tendons. That's the tendon strap that goes in. That's the ball. The ball sits in the strap. That is an injury. These balls, these straps are seen all over the world, and they are ginormous. All right, as you can see, that strap is broken off of that tendon assembly, and it would have gone over to balls, which we will see in a second. See, I think they made these walls, that particular wall down there, to test and see which tendon worked better, breaking them off completely, cleaning them up, that type of thing. Otherwise, I see no use for that. Now, over here, this is what tendons are like. And they're the hex fibers, like in Devil's Tower Foot. Tower Foot. There's the way they break. That is the tendons, and that is the wrinkle zone at the top, as you see in the wrinkle zone at the top of tendons, because they're always under tension. Tension. And out here, it just shows it a little more, how all the feet work in. That's not that's nothing to do with volcanism. And let me show you something else. What the hell? I'll show you the whole 9 yards. Oh, you saw those tendinenthesis balls. That's the strap, and that's Arches Park in Utah, I believe. And these are the same balls. They're balls all over the place, and that's the straps. There was another one here, and they have eroded away. In clusters, there's a bazillion of them, as you saw on that particular mat. But in addition to that, there's other places in the body where there's just, well, let me show you. Okay, these are the tendon ball assemblies in clusters, and they are what they call enthesis. They anchor your bones to your muscles, to your tendons and all that, so your body can move around. There's other ones that they call ligaments. So these are tendons. Then there's ligaments like here. You see this right here? And this right here? There's two bones stuck together. And here's what it is. It's like inside your body, in your leg. There's a ligament ball and a ligament ball down here. And just, there's more than one, but I believe. But let's think of it this way. There's a ball here, and it's inside of a socket. And that socket is just like this, because this is what it is right here. It's the exact same. This is what it is. That's where the ligament attaches, and another bone goes here, and they can move around like that. And you see all those little tiny holes in there? I hope you can see that. Those are like, I call them tuberosities. And they are little balls that stick off of the ball that goes in here. And that locks it in position. Can't come out. And then the other two little things come across into another ball. And you should see these things. Krishna's butterball is one of these things. And it's like this little thing sticking up. It's just nothing holding it up in the air. They thought it was going to fall over. They can't get pushed over. They took 12 elephants. They couldn't move it. Unbelievable, those things. All right, there's one of those balls. You can't push that over. I'm telling you, I don't know how. Well, I do know what it's like. It's got it's that gluey stuff, And it's fibrous, there's keratins, there's keragens, there's collagen, there's all kinds of structural integrity. But what you are looking at is, what you're seeing is the dirt here, and then that thing, and all of this eroded away, just like that. And that's what you're seeing. Below, you can't see that. That's all the dirt. That's it right there. And that is what comes out of something like this. Now, I would say that's from, I don't know what that's from, but they were all gigantic. As you can see, they were gigantic, so you have to get over it.